So let's think about an example where these kinds of issues would come to play. Let's imagine that your client, they want to build a building that is 14,000 square feet on each floor. But as you read through the code, as you're going through the occupancy and construction type tables, you're sort of reading through it, and you realize that it clearly states that a building of this construction type for this particular occupancy has a limitation of 10,000 square feet per floor. What do you do? So the issue here is you're following the code, you're using the code, you've gone to the occupancy, figured out how to use the occupancy to understand the construction type. The construction type is telling you a number that's just not reasonable. The client wants to build more. You're telling the client, I can only build 10,000 square feet per floor. Either that or we have to change the construction type or something. So what are you going to do? Well, the first thing you're going to do is there's a couple of different options here, right? One is, well, maybe the construction type is just the wrong construction type. If we look at some of the other construction type possibilities, maybe we can find one where the allowable square footage per floor is over the 14,000 square feet. So we can talk to the client about, well, maybe we have the wrong construction type. And that's certainly plausible, but that's probably something that's already come into play. So it's maybe not truly sort of a likely way to answer it in this context. What's the most likely way to think about it is, if this is my footprint, my floor footprint, and that's the 14,000 square feet, and I have to find some way to make it 10,000 square feet, well, probably what I'm just going to do is I'm going to put a wall right down the middle, make that a 4-hour wall, and while this is one building in certain ways, it becomes 2 buildings in other ways. And so from the code standpoint, this is building 1 and this is building 2. So those become 2 separate buildings because I have what's called a building separation wall in between them. And then when I come through and I have maybe my corridor is sort of going right across from one side to the other, I would be able to have doors at this point, but I would be able to just leave those doors open on some sort of hold open, a kind of a element, like magnetic system that's part of the alarm system, so that when the alarm goes off, those doors would close and kind of make the continuation of that 4-hour wall. So effectively, what I'm saying here is this is not a system to stop you from doing something. This is a system so that you have certain restrictions from doing things. You can still do them, you just have to do them in a way that is safe, that the code officials have decided this is a way that you can do this, but it's safe. So we've made a building that is much larger than the 10,000 square foot per floor, but we're still keeping everybody safe by creating a spot where if there was a fire over here, it would be very difficult for that fire to get through that 4-hour wall before it could get over to the other side and cause problems. So I'm spending money to build that wall. It is going to cost more to do this, but I'm able to get the overall project that the client wants. Maybe it's better to use a different construction type. Maybe it's better to use the building wall. This is the kind of thing you would be figuring out using your code review, understanding what our limitations were so that you had that conversation early on. You could bring in all the appropriate players, you could understand the cost implications and understand the decision making about how you would sort of make a sort of rational set of decisions for this. So the point to take away from this is, don't be fooled when something says in the code, something says you can't do it. Almost always what that means is you can't do it the way you're trying to do it, and that you need to figure out, well, okay, what does that mean we could do? Is it that we can't do it and we can do it if we add a sprinkler system? Maybe that allows us to have a bigger building, or we can do it if we go from steel to concrete, or we can do it if, right? There's a whole series of different things that ways that you can approach these kinds of projects. When it says you can't, what you're really trying to figure out is, all right, so I can't that way, what's the way that I can? Nobody's trying to stop people from building 14,000 square foot buildings, right? That's not the point of the code. The point of the code is to keep people safe. So what's the way that you can do the thing that you need but keep people safe?